Sorry guys, part 3. All right, I got the 4 mounting bolts out. I'm gonna lower down the machine and I'm gonna lift the engine out of there. They're not that, these single cylinders aren't terribly heavy, so it's fine. Some of the V twins are pretty heavy, but I've lifted them out too. Those opposed twins, those fuckers are heavy. Them right there, them things are freaking heavy. So, but yeah, sorry, I accidentally hit stop by accident. And at the moment, I don't know how to edit well. So otherwise I would just, splice the clips together. That's just something I'm gonna have to learn. Okay? Just gonna have to take the time, pick an editing software program, and then do that. One other thing though, they say it's not that hard. So I guess, once you, just like this stuff, learning this stuff, once you learn it, it's not hard. You just gotta take the time out and teach yourself. See how really dirty everything is under here? I'm gonna have to bring the pressure washer over here and blast all that crap off of there. Maybe even hit it with some purple power and blast it off of there. Because it's just not good to have all that build up on there. It's gonna keep letting dust and dirt and grass grab to it. But yeah, that's gonna have to all be blasted off of there. One other thing on these mounting bolts, for whatever reason, one of them had a one of those star type washers. I know which one it is because it left a star pattern where it was at. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. I don't know why it has it, and only that one. It's not holding any like piece of wire. It would make sense if it was like holding a piece of wire there, but it's not. All right, so I'm gonna lower this jack and pull his motor out now. Okay, one other thing I had to do was this for the headlights. It's in these clips that you just undo. I had to get that out of the way. It was running over the drain plug. And then this is a pressure washer stand. They come in handy for putting engines on. So now I can take this over here, drain the oil out, and then let's bring this guy home where I can complete dealing with the things that have to be dealt with at home. So, what was I gonna say? It's freaking getting my attention span screwed up with these cars driving by. Sometimes during the day they'll stop and they kind of look over here. I had one time, it was the middle of the summer, like the hottest day of the year. He stopped, he wanted to talk to me. I was in no fucking mood. So I was basically like, I basically told him to fuck off in not so many words, you know what I mean? But yeah. And then I found out who he was because he lives in this neighborhood. I talked to him online. I knew his younger brother. So, we talked nice online, I just told him, it was the hottest day of the year and I wasn't in a good mood and everything was all good. But, so he was cool. He told me, don't chew my head off now if I come by again. I was like, nah, I won't. Nah, I knew who he was. But, yeah, a lot of times I'll just park my truck long way so it kind of blocks out the view. All right, so I'm going to drain the oil out now. The way I had to do it with this one is this whole thing has to be turned because I can't get this part out. I'm going to drain the oil now, so this way at least the oil is drained. And then I'll show what I'm going to do, okay? But here, let me do that. Okay, yeah, I got lucky this time. This part was already loose. That's actually not good that was loose. It must have been from the last time. I don't know. But there it goes. That oil is not, terrible this time around. It's not diluted with fuel like it was that last time when I showed it. So what I'm going to end up doing, I'll probably end up just getting another one of these elbows and put another plug in like that with Teflon so it doesn't freeze, and then leave this plug in. Because this one on the tractor, you know, when it's on there and you can get it off from the bottom, it's fine. You know what I mean? That's good enough. It's still better than the new ones, where a lot of times they'll just put this end piece on, or a real short one. Like this other one, it's cool, but you know, I don't know, they're still kind of cheesy, and you have to have that tube, and then once you use that tube, it's oily and dirty. So there's nothing wrong with that one. You know, you just turn the wheel and you put that oil pan there and you're good. This completely unhooked. So it unhooked, I guess, from right here because, yeah. So it's almost like the modern ones. It's just an older style plug. I don't know if I have one to show. Let me see. I don't have one exactly like it, but it's basically like this. It's a 6-prong. It unhooks here, and then that 2-prong on the Briggs ones unhooks, and then that's it. It's like a pigtail. See? What I mean? The fuck are you gonna do there? That's gonna make a mess no matter what. And that's the way it was factory. That's a Tecumseh. What year was that? And it's only 358cc, which is really 10 horsepower. Where's the year on that one? It's hard to see. They're claiming it's 13 and a half. And, okay, there's no way it's a 13 and a half because 358cc is actually 10 horsepower. It's built off the 8 horsepower block, which is 318. It was built in 08. Okay? That was the final year they were in business because they went out of business in December 08. But I had an engine basically just like this, a little bit older. I think it was a 98, and it was a replacement for its original on another LT4000 Craftsman, just like that. It was a decent engine. The one thing I didn't like about it, and it had enough power too, even only being actually a 10. It's not a 13 and a half. It had a regular metal bowl carburetor because these plastic Vector style ones suck. Once they get dirty, you know, it's like you can't save them. They have to be replaced. Luckily, I have this setup with an aluminum bowl one, so that's what's probably going to end up happening with this. But yeah, this is the last year they built them. So, but they're okay. You know, on the other problem was on the carburetor, it was jetted slightly too lean, so it would misfire a little bit idle, and even at full throttle until you put the blades on, then it would run smooth. Because the way these carburetors work, when you're at low throttle, it uses a low speed jet to send the fuel, okay, and it's usually in the body. When you go to full throttle, it's taking it from the main jet, which pulls it up the emulsion tube, and it sends in full fuel. When you put it under a load, it sends it even more faster, and then it smooths out. That's how they work. So they call that Vanoli's principle, like a airplane wing, the way the air flows in. So it's a combination of air and the fuel, but that's what it is. When you put it under a load, that's when it's taking its highest demand of fuel and it smooths out. That was the one thing I didn't like about that engine. I could have probably taken a micro drill bit, enlarged the jet slightly, and it would have fixed that issue, but whatever. It was what it was. So, I mean, they're not terrible, but, and it's an overhead valve, you know, whatever. But, yeah, getting off track because I just wanted to show that pigtail thing. So, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It's that clear plastic. The 6-prong plugs into the 6-prong, the male and the female, and then It has the 2-prong male that plugs into the female on the stator or vice versa, and that's it. That's how it undoes. This one's basically the same thing, except it's not a clear one, and it's only a 4-prong, and they're, it's old school. The new ones, they're round. That's freaking the flats. So, but otherwise it's the same. It's the same thing. It's basically, just imagine this, the clear plastic, and it's got 6 holes. Not all prongs are always used, and they're round, and each side of them meet, and then this part meets the stator. A lot of times it won't have this extra one, but if it does, this one meets that. I'm pretty sure that's just the kill wire from the engine. Yeah, it is. And that's it. So yeah, this goes to the coil. This is the kill. This is the stator. So, all right, it's still draining a little bit. Let it drain out. It's not terrible. It's it's not the worst. I mean, it was due for a change, but it's not, it's not that bad. So, not like that one time when it came out with gas in it, that thing was almost filled to the brim. I'm looking for sparkles, for like metal. I don't see anything crazy amount. I see like tiny little bits, but nothing like crazy. But it's still there, so we'll let that finish draining, and then it'll be tomorrow. It'll be part 4. I'm gonna pull the sump off. I think I already have the gasket for it, so I just swapped the gasket. Otherwise, I'll use the Right Stuff RTV. That works fine too. Being as though this was my machine, my engine, I would have preferred to use a gasket. I might still have one. I think I do. If not, I'm going to be using the RTV. That's fine. And then I'm going to see about swapping this out, since this seems to be seeping a little bit, or do something with that so it's at least not seeping there. And then over on this side, behind the carburetor, there's a cover. It's the breather cover. On these old flatheads, they have a breather cover, and that's the end of the valves. I think it's leaking there too. I'm pretty sure I have the gaskets for those, so I'll swap those out. And also, you can see where it was leaking bad. See it? Right? See how dark it is right in that spot right there? That's where it was leaking bad. So that's where it definitely failed. So it may have just been splashing in that area. It make it look like the breather cover is bad. And then the carburetor itself, like I said, I'm gonna try polishing the seat with a little valve grinding compound. And then the seal, let me see if I can show it now. I'm gonna change out the seal because it was all oily under there. Although again, when it leaks somewhere bad, it can cause it to make it look like it's leaking in multiple areas. The seal may not be bad, but it's still good practice when you pull the sump to replace the seal. I don't always do it, but that's good practice to do that, because you can mess up the seal when you take the thing off and go to put it back on. If you're real careful, you can usually get away with it, but it is still good practice to swap out the seal. And then, so I know for sure though, it was definitely leaking here because it's got that residue, the way it's built up. And it was definitely leaking bad right down in that area, right there, because it's got that residue. It's hard to see in the dark, but right there. So those 2 areas alone could have created anywhere else that's a mess. And it was really leaking bad there. It started off slow last year, and then by this year it was like letting it out fast. And I put the motor at risk running like that, but when I checked it, it was, I don't know, it was weird, because like I said, when I checked it initially before I started it for the season, it was a little low. Then I added it, and then it was high. So what I think happened was it had positive crankcase ventilation from the gasket being bad, and it made it raise the level to make it seem like it was high. So I don't think I went too low, obviously, because if I had, you'd be seeing clear signs of metal shavings, particles in this, and it's not really, there's nothing really there, it's just dark. So that's it. So the engine should be fine. So that's good. And looks like it's definitely time for a new spark plug. That sucker looks like it's the original. I don't even think it's a Champion. So it might be an original replacement from like freaking the 90s, because that sucker definitely looks like an older one. So I'll put a new plug in. Air filter was bad, like pretty dirty, but I cleaned it out well. So ideally, brand new air filter with the outer filter. Definitely this, where it sits in that's gotta be swapped. Oil seal, if I'm pretty sure I have it, probably gonna do that. Gasket, sump gasket, definitely. Breather gasket, probably, because I think I have it. I don't know if you would want to RTV that area, it would probably be okay, but I know that there's little, like right behind where the breather sits, there are little drains to let the oil go back down, because it gets drawn in there, pumped in there, right? And then there's a little drain like right behind the breather to let it go back down. So I don't know about using RTV, because you don't want to block that hole up. Okay. And then, oh, yeah. I'll probably end up putting the recoil start top on it. I just had to make sure it clears with the hood, that it clears there. Otherwise, I may have to either, see, I don't think I would want to remove that piece of metal, because that definitely adds a little strength to the hood, or just maybe cut that a little bit wider so that the recoil housing can sit up in there, is what I'll probably end up doing. I don't know, that other one, I'm gonna have to review the footage on that other one to see how they had, it was this engine except it had a recoil start too, and it sat up there and the hood did close all the way. So I don't know if they altered it or if it was made to have it there, which I doubt, because the original engine definitely didn't have a recoil, but the replacement did. So maybe it was altered, maybe they removed it altogether, I don't know. But if I do go, I am gonna add it. I'm not gonna remove that whole metal thing, because that keeps this hood sturdier. So if you remove that, it would be a little bit too flimsy and it would rattle more. If I had to, I'll just widen that hole so that that recoil start fits in. All right, so that's the end of part 3. I'm taking it home tomorrow during the day. I'll do what I gotta do to it, you know, and then put her back on, clean all this shit off of here before I do put it back on, and then we'll be good to go. All right, so that's it for now. So look out for, this is going to be in order, all right, from part 1 to however many parts it ends up being. This was part 3 on June 12th. Tomorrow it'll be part 4, June 13th, and however, if there's a couple more parts to it. So it'll run through all the way. All right? Okay, guys, later.